An action-packed night at Nashville ends with a thrilling three-wide battle between three Joe Gibbs racing cars. Welcome back to another episode of Talkin NASCAR. I am your host, Andrew. Hope you all have had a great weekend. Hope you have had a great start to your week. First week of June, first day of June that I'm recording this episode on. Finally, I wanted to record an episode earlier today, and I wanted to record some episodes earlier this weekend before we got into the Nashville Cup Series race, but I had some technical difficulties going on with all my recording equipment, so I wasn't able to get any episodes out before Nashville, the green flag for the Cup Series race at Nashville last night. But here I am, thankfully, not too long after the green flag or the checkered flag flew at Nashville on Sunday night. So we got a lot to talk about in this race. Lots of great racing, lots of action-packed racing in this race at Nashville. Tire wear, brake explosions on all of these cars, lots of cautions in this one. I think maybe the most cautions we've had all year it was last night at Nashville. Great battles, great racing. Got to talk about all of that. But let's go ahead and start by talking about the end to this action-packed race from Nashville. Let's start by talking about lap 286. Caution for Chris Buescher entering turn 3. Right front brake rotor on his number 17 car explodes. He hits the outside wall. Caution for Buescher and all the debris that he has left out on the racetrack. Buescher done for the night. Unfortunately, was not having a great day for Chris Buescher. Rough couple of weeks for Buescher. Another one added on to the list. And that would mean we would be heading into a late race restart once again. And we want to get back racing until lap 297. 4 laps to go in this race. And you have 3 JGR cars up at the front of the field. Denny Hamlin, who was starting on the pole after qualifying was rained out on Saturday, but ended up having a penalty early on in this race for jumping the restart. And at that point, Hamlin had to go to the rear, was barely hanging on to the lead lap, and looked like maybe his race was all but over maybe early on in this race. Thankfully, though, it was early on, and Denny Hamlin was able to claw his way back and slowly grind his way back out, get back up inside the top 20, and by the end of this race, even before this caution, he was up front battling with Christopher Bell and Chase Briscoe as well. So here we go, restart with 4 laps to go. Bell looking for his first win of the season. Chase Briscoe, his teammate, on the second row on the outside, looking for his first win of the season. And then Denny Hamlin in third, looking for his second win of the 2026 campaign. So on the restart, Bell clears for the lead off of turn 1, and Hamlin is able to get by Chase Briscoe for second place as they head into turns 3 and 4 and continue to battle for the lead. But coming to the final lap, white flag in the air down into turn 1, Chase Briscoe tries to make it 3 wide for the lead as Bell and Hamlin are battling it out. Denny Hamlin is able to get past both of them as Christopher Bell absolutely lunges it up into turn 1, sends him up the racetrack, sends Briscoe up the racetrack. Hamlin clear for the lead down the back straightaway. Bell trying to run him down. Bell once again lunges it up the inside, trying to get to the back bumper of Hamlin, maybe to even contend. Can't quite get there. Hamlin still clear off turn 4, comes to the start-finish line and takes the checkered flag. A costly mistake by Christopher Bell in this one to be very, very aggressive and trying to hold off Chase Briscoe, allows Hamlin to get underneath of him and basically ride off into the night in Nashville and take his second win of the Cup Series season. Just absolutely heartbreaking for both Bell and Briscoe, and a triumphant victory for Denny Hamlin, who started on pole, like I mentioned, then had to go to the back of the field, even just like on lap 2, I believe, to serve a penalty for jumping the restart. But he was able to battle back after just being pretty much absent all night long, and is able to find his way to the front and beat both of his teammates, his winless teammates, and take his second win of the NASCAR Cup Series season. A very entertaining finish, but also a very clean finish as well among the 3 top contenders for the race win. Besides that, I mean, you had a pretty big crash coming across the finish line. Chase Elliott got a hook got pushed sideways by Ryan Blaney. coming to the checker flag, hit Tyler Reddick. Reddick had a huge impact into the outside wall. Glad to hear that Reddick was okay, but besides that, a lot of other cautions throughout the night, mostly for brake failures. Chris Buescher, I already mentioned. Ross Chastain and Connor Zilisch, two Trackhouse drivers, also had brake failures in this one. AJ Allmendinger had a brake failure in this one. Allmendinger was having such a good night, ended up winning stage one using a little bit of pit strategy, but unfortunately had a brake failure on his car as well, so he would be done for the night as well. Some other racing incidents. I think it was Chris Buescher had some contact with Hocevar and Nemechek. Bubba got involved in a crash, collected Alex Bowman as well. Corey Heim misjudged an entrance to turn one, ran into the back of Todd Gilliland, spun the 34 out. Heim got involved in that one as well. As Some other cars got involved, like Cole Custer, I think, got involved in that one as well. Austin Dillon for Richard Childress Racing had an eventful night, to be sure, here at Nashville. First, he got spun out by Chris Buescher, didn't hit anything, so he walked away from that incident pretty clean as well. But then, a little while later in the race, I believe, later on in stage three, he got into it with Brad Keselowski on the front straightaway. Very similar incident to how Dillon got spun. Keselowski coming across the start finish line, trying to avoid a big checkup after Noah Gragson got bumped by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. out of the groove. Cars swerving up and down the racetrack, trying to get out of the way, try to avoid getting stacked up. And Keselowski trying to fit behind Austin's brother, Ty Dillon, in the 10. And Ty Dillon was actually having a pretty solid night for calling racing, along with his teammate of AJ Allmendinger. Brad Keselowski has to check up to get behind the 10 car of Ty Dillon and ends up getting run over pretty much by Austin Dillon. But I say run over, and it's in that Dillon just didn't get slowed down enough to avoid hitting Keselowski. Keselowski went up the racetrack, collected Austin Cindric as well, and Cindric, another guy that was right on the playoff cut line. Keselowski in that conversation as well. Keselowski's teammate of Ryan Preece as well. We'll have to talk about him a little bit later. We'll take a look at the chase standings a little bit later on in the show. But Keselowski ends up getting wrecked out of this race, same with Cindric. And on the radio, Brad Keselowski's spotter, TJ Majors, was absolutely furious about this contact and said that Dillon purposely wrecked Brad Keselowski for an earlier incident, and that's why Austin Dillon just completely ran over him, quote unquote, is what TJ Majors thinks. And Keselowski, when he was interviewed by Amazon Prime, I believe it was by Trevor Bain, was showed the replay and said it looked pretty intentional. And here's my thing on it. I think that, because Brad, made that assumption without hearing the audio, that the broadcast guys like Adam Alexander, Dale Jr., and Steve Letarte all heard that Austin Dillon, when he got right up close to Keselowski's bumper, he was out of the gas. It wasn't like Dillon stayed in the throttle and hit Brad Keselowski. It was just that Keselowski checked up and Dillon checked up as well, but just a little bit too late and didn't get on the brakes to avoid hitting Brad in the right rear. And so that's why Brad Keselowski spun out. So I don't think there was any malicious intent with that. I don't think Austin Dillon was, trying to get back at Brad Keselowski in any way. I mean, I will be fair and say Austin Dillon has done things like this in the past. Look at Richmond in 2024 and what he did to Joey Logano, wrecking Logano and Hamlin for the victory. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to completely rule out the possibility that Dillon did it, but based off what we heard from the audio of on Austin Dillon's onboard, I don't think he purposely wrecked Brad Keselowski. I think it was just a racing incident. So we'll have to wait and see what NASCAR thinks. I don't think anything will come of it, and I will be very surprised if anything does come of this incident as well. So, anyways, Austin Dillon had a very eventful night in that three car, and this was a pretty big moment and a pretty big incident that, had a lot of people talking about it during and even after the race. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at the top finishers from this event. Once again, heartbreaking defeat for Bell and Briscoe, but both of those guys who were struggling early on in the season, they've been starting to find things. And for both of them, I think that they both just had really good speed. I think they had speed to win. most weeks. It's just they got a little bit unlucky. I point to Texas for Christopher Bell when he got caught up in that William Byron crash, I believe. And Chase Briscoe as well. Maybe not as much speed as Bell, but he's been gradually finding it more and more as we go on. I thought last week at Charlotte for both of those two teams, the 20 and the 19, I think those were big turnaround weekends for them. And so I'm excited to see what they're going to do continuing on next weekend at Michigan. Fourth place, how about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 47? Came out of nowhere at the end of this race. Used a little bit of pit strategy, took some fresh tires, was able to get up inside the top five. But even in stage two as well, again, use similar pit strategy to get up into third place and be in third in stage two, get some good stage points. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was one of the top point scorers in this race. So shout out to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. In the 47 team. Back-to-back really good weekends for Stenhouse. Last weekend at the Coca-Cola 600, I believe he finished up inside the top 10, finished in 12th place, excuse me, but Stenhouse was having a solid night in Charlotte last weekend. And as well, Shane Van Gisbergen finishes with a top 5 result at Nashville, one of his best finishes of the year. I believe his best finish of his career on an oval, so shout out to SVG. Both his trackouts, teammates of Zilich and Chastain, again, they both suffered brake failures, not too far apart from each other. Only 10 laps separated their brake failures, so unfortunate for both of them. That was a common thing in this event, and that was pretty much all caused by the new aero and horsepower package introduced for this race. You combine more horsepower with less downforce, means more speed for all the cars, meaning you're going to have to slow down a lot more into the corners, use a little bit more brake. And for this weekend at Nashville, a little bit cooler temperatures and these hot brakes do not mix very well. And Steve Letarte, I think, put it best when the main cause of this probably was that these brakes were just getting heat and cool flashed a lot. They would be really, really cold on a straightaway and then be heat flashed in the corner, and that's how they would eventually expand and eventually explode from all that heat and just all the constantly changing temperatures, because those brakes are very heat and temperature conduct. They're very responsive to temperature. They're kind of like any other metal. You put them in a cold situation and immediately heat them up, or you get them hot and immediately have them hit with cold air or cold water, they'll explode and expand and crack. So that's something that we saw tonight as well. So fortunate for all the other drivers that had brake failures. Allmendinger, I already mentioned. Chris Buescher had one, I'm pretty sure, as well. So unfortunate for all of those guys in this one. Tyler Reddick ends up in sixth place. He started on the front row of this one as well due to qualifying not being rained out. Excuse me. Reddick didn't have the best car at all tonight. Didn't look very, very good, but it was definitely a top 10 car pretty much all night. Chase Elliott started deep in the field. Didn't look like he was going to move forward very, very much in this race. Had to use a little use a little bit of pit strategy, excuse me, to get up and get that track position. Got some good stage points in stage one because of some pit strategy. Stage two faded back a little bit because some drivers used some other forms of pit strategy to get up front, like Suarez, Bowman, Stenhouse, Cindric, McDowell, guys like that. But at the end of the day, Chase Elliott ends up with the top 10 result. Ryan Blaney in seventh place. He was up front a lot in this one, battling with AJ Allmendinger for the stage one victory as well. Zane Smith, another solid weekend for Zane Smith after a pretty solid top 10 result at Charlotte last weekend. Carson Hocevar, top 10 for him as well. Been a bit of a rough go of it for Hocevar the last couple of point series races. Back-to-back 20th place, back-to-back outside the top 20 finishes at Watkins Glen and Charlotte, but another top 10 for Carson Hocevar, who needed a rebound desperately, but he is still in the chase. We'll take a look at the chase points in just a moment. Eric Jones ends up with an 11th, another very solid night for Eric Jones. Another concrete track where Jones does very, very well. Ty Dillon, I just mentioned him and his calling, teammate of AJ Allmendinger, doing so much with so little support from Chevrolet. Allmendinger already mentioned, wrecked out with a broken brake on his car, brake failure. Ty Dillon ends up with a top 15 result, finishing in 12th place. So great day for Ty Dillon and that 10 team. Really solid day for him. Ty Gibbs ends up at 13th. Logano, top 15, was up in the top 10 a good portion of this race. Unfortunately, kind of faded back towards the end of this one. Not really able to get the finish that he probably would have wanted, but he's desperate for any points that he can get right now as well. And then Michael McDowell rounds out the top 15. Noah Gregson in 16th, Herbst in 17th, Austin Dillon I already mentioned in 18th. Suarez, a stage winner, last week's winner from the Coca-Cola 600, finished in 19th. Ended up going a lap down, I'm pretty sure. Todd Gilliland in 20th. Kyle Larson, another name I want to mention here. He ended up wrecking or spinning out, excuse me, on the final lap. I believe got on the wall, I believe off turn two. Had a little bit of contact from a car behind him. I can't remember exactly which one. Got into the outside wall, broke a toe link, and unfortunately tried to get down to pit road, spun out, and finished the race one lap down in 23rd. Larson had a really good night going. He really did. He had a lot of good speed in his car. Unfortunately, got caught up in that get in that incident. Couldn't finish the race. Very similar to how Christopher Bell ran a couple weeks ago at Texas, I believe. I think it was. Yeah, it was either Texas, I believe, probably. I can't exactly remember which race it was for Bell, but Bell got in the wall, had a issue on his right rear, spun coming to pit road, or no, I think it was Talladega maybe. I can't exactly remember. Anyways, very similar to when Christopher Bell had a good day going, got a broken toe link, spun coming to pit road, no caution, but ended up having a really unfortunate finish for him as well. And then some other notable names outside of the top 30. William Byron in 30th. I thought William Byron would have a much better day. He started 8th. He looked speedy in the first stage, but just faded consistently throughout this race. Did not have a good car. He was in the back of the pack, ended up getting caught up in a crash, and that just ruined the day for William Byron in this one. Bubba Wallace in 32nd. Wasn't having a great day, but was looking like a top 20 day for Bubba. Ends up in 32nd. Alex Bowman as well. Bowen was having a really solid race, got caught up in a crash as well with Bubba. Brad Keselowski, I already mentioned, he needs all the points he can. He is right on the chase cutoff line. Ryan Preece had I believe, a water pressure issue, so he had to retire early with that issue on his car. So he needs points as well. And as well, his penalty from Texas on Ty Gibbs got upheld this weekend, so he lost his points. So he's desperately fighting for all the points he can get. And then Chastain and Zilich at the bottom of the finishing order. So there you go. Those are your top finishers from this weekend's race at Nashville. Now, taking a look at the chase standings after Nashville, specifically looking at 12th all the way down through the cutoff line. William Byron still in 11th, by the way. Shane Van Gisbergen, who was, I believe, in 15th place coming into this race, jumps all the way up to 12th place. Brad Keselowski, even though he got caught up in that crash, still is in 13th place. He's a good chunk of the way above the cut line, 43 points above the cutoff line. But things can change very rapidly in these situations. Chase Briscoe, he is up by a large margin over the playoff cutoff line by, I believe, 39 points. Bubba Wallace in 15th now. He's been dropping for a little bit of a stretch now. He's hit a bit of a rough patch in the season. So Bubba desperately needing a good finish, but however, he is 34 points above the cutoff line. And then Austin Cindric is the last guy in. However, he is only 2 points above Ryan Preece in the 60. Logano only out by 9 points. Michael McDowell is the 19th place driver. He is, well, he's a double-digit point lead outside. Zane Smith in 20th. Eric Jones also in that conversation. Allmendinger as well. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is also in that conversation, possibly. So I really think it is going to be a interesting kind of bubble battle as we get into the later portions of the regular season. I could see this easily being between Bubba, Cindric, Priest, Logano, and McDowell. Potentially, maybe Zane Smith will enter the conversation, but I'm really looking at those four drivers as the main guys in this chase cutoff line as we move forward throughout the rest of the season. So there's a look at your chase standings after Nashville. And now it's time to wrap up this episode with my race review rating. Another very solid race weekend after the Coca-Cola 600. Great racing, a difficult track to pass at, but produces really intense, hard racing, side-by-side battles. Few drivers were able to work their way up through the field, so that's why you had to use pit strategy and take some tires. But interesting track conditions with the brake conditions and having all those brake failures. This new aero and tire wear package, new horsepower package as well, introduced for this race. definitely added a bit of a different wrinkle to this event that we haven't gotten, I would say, in the last couple years. But overall, very entertaining race, good racing overall. A lot of calamity, I would say, which I don't know really how to feel about. I think that's just a product of this new aero package and all the brake failures moving forward. So that's something that we're gonna have to watch moving forward, especially when we get to Gateway later on in the year, because that's a track that struggled with brake failures over the last couple of years. So, and that's even without the new horsepower and aero package. So that's a thing to keep an eye on moving forward. But specifically for Nashville, I'm gonna give this race an 83%. Very solid race. Very good, entertaining race, good racing, good hard battles. Very exciting weekend, big market for the Cup Series being in Nashville. You saw some local sponsors on some cars like SVG, had Tootsie's on the car. You saw Corey Haim's car was sponsored by Chiefs. I believe that's Eric Church's bar in Nashville. So really cool to see some of those sponsors being on the car this weekend in Nashville. So 83%, very solid score, very solid race overall. Let me know down in the comments what you would have rated this weekend's race at Nashville, the Cracker Barrel 400. Let me know if you would rate it higher or lower. Let me know down in the comments section below. But that will do it for this episode of Talkin NASCAR. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. Hope you all enjoyed this weekend's race. Make sure you follow the show if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you want to hear more, and stay tuned for more races, or excuse me, more episodes moving forward. And if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to the channel as well so you never miss another episode. And if you like what I'm doing over here, go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. It's the sports show I co-host with. Have a lot of fun over there as well. Yeah, the summer coming up. Hopefully we should be posting on that show more frequently and more consistently. So if you want to make sure you're following those shows as well, I will have the YouTube channel and the Spotify page in the description, linked in the description down below. Same for this show as well if you want to check out either site as well. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I will see you very, very soon for another episode.